We have Grandmaster Andrei Volokitin from Ukraine taking on the world champion D.Gukesh. A handshake. Gukesh has had a tough FIDE Grand Swiss. This is the final round of the tournament, but he did win his previous round, and that would get him into a good mood for this one. He beat Gabriel Sargsyan. On the other hand, Andrei Volokitin had draws against Dubov, Hari Krishna, Musa Jules, managed to also beat Badur Jobawa and Alexei Sarana. He also drew Yan Nepomniachtchi. So pretty good tournament for the Ukrainian Grandmaster. The last round will be interesting to see. Gukesh has the black pieces, Volokitin with white. The game is about to begin. The players are ready, and a handshake, and off we go. Volokitin opens the game with pawn to e4, and Gukesh responds back with the Caro Kann. This has been his fighting weapon here with the black pieces. Pawn to d4 played, and now pawn comes up to d5. e5 played here, gaining space, and bishop f5. The advanced variation of the Caro Kann is on the board. Knight to f3 played, and black plays pawn to e6, opening up his bishop. He brings his bishop out to e2, and now Gukesh plays a move that is not played very often, a5, although it has been played by Magnus Carlsen before. Volokitin stops the pawn in its tracks. Many times if white doesn't go a4, black himself goes a4. Gukesh breaks in the center with f6, white castles it out, and now the knight comes to d7. It's a risky strategy that Gukesh has adopted, by which, he's breaking in the center even before he's finished his development, now putting even more pressure on the e5 point. Bishop goes to f4 here, but it seems like black has already equalized. F takes e5. If d takes, you go bishop c5 and knight e7. So knight comes to e5, and now a very important move, bishop d6. Yes, the bishop comes out to d6, putting pressure on e5, and then knight f6 and short castles is normal. The bishop comes out to g4, and Gukesh long castles here. This is definitely risky, considering that you have already pushed your pawn to a5. But I believe that Gukesh sees that it's not so easy to open up things on the queen side, and the pressure in the center is also quite a lot. Rook e1 played, bolstering the e5 point. The knight comes out, and black has kind of perfect development with the rook coming in to e8. Knight to d2, white instantly goes and tries to again support the knight on e5. The knight jumps in to e4, and knight f3, supporting the knight on e5. He goes rook to g8, and now Gukesh is planning this move, g5, and so on. Knight takes d7 taken, and he chops off the bishop on f4. Volokitin comes back with his knight to c5, and there's a threat of a fork on e6, but the rook comes into e8, stopping that. We have knight to d3, attacking the bishop, and the bishop comes back. Now if black starts to roll his pawns on the king side with g5, g4, it could be dangerous. So c3 played. I think Volokitin is trying for b4 maybe, but Gukesh is faster. He goes g5. Knight jumps into e5 here, and now a strong move is c5. It's not an easy move. He plays it. If you take the pawn, your knight on e5 is hanging. So Volokitin goes pawn to f3, asking a question to the knight on e4, but c4, another beautiful move. If you move the knight away, then e5 would be loose. So he takes here on e4, and now an important move, d takes e4. Very important to play that. Yes, he plays it. So now if the knight moves away, bishop takes e5, and there's a pin here. So queen takes h5. Both the knights are hanging. He takes here. C takes d3, and look at that pawn structure. Knight takes d3 taken. You can't take on d3 because of rook e8 hanging. Queen c6 defending the rook, again threatening the knight. Knight goes to f2, but look at this pawn structure. It's amazing for black. e3 pushed by Gukesh. He's getting his pawns rolling. Knight comes to d3, and now f4. Oh, he even goes queen e2, queen e4, attacking the knight. The queen comes back here, but this is all over now. Gukesh's pawns are running ahead, and there's very little that white can do. b4, but a little too late. Pawn takes pawn. Plays a5, trying to open up the black king. And Gukesh goes king to b8. a6 played. This is the moment where you have to be careful. b6, keeping things closed. And now knight takes b4, but this will allow Gukesh to simply chop off the final minor pieces on the board. You're left with only major pieces, and it doesn't seem very easy to attack here. C takes b4, and rook takes d4 taken in the center. He plays the rook to d1. Maybe just rook d8 makes sense. But rook e7 played. And now pawn to b5. It's important here. Gukesh blocks the pawn with king a7, and rook takes d4, queen takes d4, rook d1, attacking the queen. As they move towards the 40th move, Gukesh has 4 minutes, Volokitin has 1 minute, h3 played, and Gukesh goes h5. You can't take the pawn, e2 comes with a check, so king h1, and maybe even g4. Yes, he pushes forward. If you take and queen g4, there is check, and then e2 comes in. So rook f1, and queen comes to d4, defending the f4 pawn. Not at all easy here. Rook d1, attacking the queen. Queen comes back to c5, and the players have reached move 40 with 50 extra minutes on the clock. h4 played to close down the position, and Gukesh goes queen to f5. The rook goes to f1, but now simply f3, pawn takes, rook takes, queen takes, e2, e1 is game over. Just have a look at how this variation could pan out. Takes, e2, you can't stop e1, and this is over. Volokitin resigns. Gukesh scores his second win in a row to finish the tournament at +1, 6 out of 11. So pretty decent finish for him. And this last game, I think Gukesh played really well. Without any real troubles, he managed to outwit his strong opponent. And Volokitin, well, he could have played better perhaps at certain moments in the opening, but once Gukesh got the advantage, he did not let it go. Thus, the Grand Swiss ends for Gukesh, and he does lose 15 ELO points, which brings him down to 2752, but it is for sure that he will make a comeback very, very soon.